The next stitch I'm going to show you is a half double crochet. Now this stitch is a little bit taller than the previous stitches, and so instead of skipping one chain and going into the second chain from the hook, we're going to skip 2 chains. So this one and this one, or go into the 3rd chain from the hook. And this will raise our work to the correct height so we get those nice straight edges that we're looking for. All right, to do this stitch, we yarn over or wrap the yarn around and go down into our chain. Remember, we're going into the 3rd stitch from the hook for our first stitch, and then we pull up a loop, and now we have 3 loops on our hook. Then we yarn over and pull through all 3 of the loops on the hook. All right, once we've done that first stitch that raises it up to the right height, now we're going to go directly into the next stitch. And so here's our next stitch, and we're going to yarn over and go down into the next chain and pull up a loop. We now have 3 loops on the hook. Going to yarn over, go through all 3 of the loops on the hook. One more time, we're going to go into the next stitch, which is here. Our previous stitch is there. And we're going to yarn over and put our hook through the chain and pull up a loop. We now have 3 loops on the hook. Yarn over, pull through all 3 loops on the hook, and we're going to go ahead and do that all the way across. And I'll show you this when we get there, but as you recall, when we get to the end of the row, we will now need to chain 2 at the end of each row in order to bring the height up to the correct position so that our edges remain straight throughout our work. All right, so we're going to go ahead and do this all the way across into each stitch across. And if you need to, you can count to help make sure that you're going into each stitch all the way. I've reached the end of my row, and now I'm going to chain 2. Remember, we chain 2 for this stitch to raise it to the correct height because it's a little bit taller. So it's going to go a little bit faster as you work your way up through the rows. Now we're going to do our first stitch right there back in the last one of the prior row. So put your hook through both loops. Remember our lesson on the front and back loop. Now we have 3 loops on the hook, and then we're going to yarn over and pull through all 3. And I'll show you a little bit more closely. So we're going to yarn over. This is a subsequent row after the foundation row, and get our stitch in this stitch. Now we're going to go into the next one, and we're going to go through both the front and the back loop. So we yarn over and go through both loops and pull up a loop. There's 3 loops on the hook. Yarn over and pull through all 3. And we'll keep going all the way across as we did before. And at the end of each row, we will chain 2 before we go back and do our first stitch of that row into the last stitch of the previous row. Here's an example of what several rows of the half double crochet look like up close. I think it's a really beautiful stitch, don't you?